Greetings, YouTube, and welcome to episode 284 of the 4,000 Question Challenge. What do you think about rich people who pay little or no income tax? Take all their fucking money. Okay, I'll be generous. I'll let them keep some of the money. But if they're not paying an income tax, and I am paying an income tax, they need to lose everything but $100 million. They get to keep $100 million. They get to remain a millionaire, and they can work on becoming wealthy from that. But everything else goes into the public trust, every last penny. And if they've hidden any money overseas, we throw their ass in prison until they repatriate every single penny of those dollars, which they then lose. But we'll let them out of prison. That's what we shoot at rich people. What is your favorite provision of the Constitution? I tend to think of the Bill of Rights more than anything when I think of our rights. Now, while I read the Constitution, I have a copy right there in my drawer. I don't know if I can answer that off the top of my head. I really don't. I'll be honest. Again, my instant instinct is to go to the Bill of Rights, and there's a whole lot of Bill of Rights, there's a whole lot of those rights that I am very fond of. So I don't know if I can answer that one off the top of my head. My apologies. Does the IRS abuse its powers? I don't believe it does. I really don't. In fact, it's been gutted and underfunded, so it's not going after the people it needs to go after, the wealthy. It's going after the middle class and lower class. Why? Because they can't defend themselves as well, so they get more successful cases against them. Whereas the people who actually have the money they have stolen from us, have the lawyers that can fight the IRS, because the IRS has limited funds. When it comes to the ROI, the return on investment, it makes more sense for the IRS to go after the middle and the little guy than the big guy. And that was intentional. The GOP has gutted the IRS intentionally. Just like the GOP has set up the post office to fail. How did they do this? In 2006, they told the post office they have to fund the entirety of their pension program for the next 75 years up front. Now, if that provision were removed and they could just fund their pension program like other institutions fund their pension programs, the post office would be making money without a problem. But because they've been put into a situation where they have to pay for things up front intentionally to make it look like they are failing every year, the goal is to eliminate the post office and privatize it. GOP are fucking bastards. They are unethical and immoral. They are a terrorist organization. So, yeah, I don't think the IRS abuses its power. I think they've been gutted by the GOP. The GOP likes to push the narrative that they abuse their power. I'd like to know the political affiliation of this author. Do you think lower income people pay their fair share, too much or too little income tax? How about middle income, upper income, and you? Lower income people pay way more taxes than they need to pay. The middle class pays way more taxes than they need to pay. The upper income and the people way at the top don't pay nearly enough taxes. And I would have to look at my actual tax breakdown. But I'm probably, in my opinion, paying too many taxes because the people who should be paying the bulk of the taxes, the wealthy, aren't. That's how Reagan did that whole lowering the tax rate from 70% down to 35%. He shifted his tax burden onto the middle class and poor. That's how he pulled that off. But Reagan was really good at giving blowjobs to billionaires, so we shouldn't be shocked by that. What do you think is good about the world? Another one of those really big questions that I don't know is great for getting to know you, but I'm going to say the human capacity for compassion. That's great about the world. I'm not saying it's exercised a lot, but I'm saying it's awesome. Would you ever be frozen if promised you could come back? Seeing as that would be an economic burden on my family, I would probably not go with that option. And there's currently the way the freezing process is engaged in creates ice crystals in human cells that make recovery highly unlikely, if not impossible. We need different freezing processes or suspension processes that don't create those ice crystals. Yeah, being well informed is often both angering and depressing. Is allowing unapproved experimental drugs to be marketed worth the risk of exposing patients to undiscovered side effects? Well, first of all, drugs shouldn't be marketed. I don't believe that capitalism should have anything to do with medication at all. They should be government controlled in my book. And if someone is in a stage 4 disease and they ask to be put on the list of experimental drugs, they should be given that opportunity. But drugs should be free at the point of delivery to those that need it. No matter what the drug is, how much the goddamn drug costs. Would there be more advantages or problems if nobody ever died? What would they be? Well, if no one ever died and the birth rate continued like it is, we would be in some serious goddamn trouble. However, if every person who underwent a treatment that said they would live forever had that treatment done, say, at age 18, and it wouldn't be allowed to be given to anyone who'd had more than a single child or preserved enough material to fertilize a single child, then I think I'd be okay with that, as long as they're sterile. If the process makes them sterile, then they can't have kids, or they can only have one kid. That's all right. That's it. I can live with that. But if they can continue to have children, that would be a friggin' nightmare. I'm completely opposed to that. There are too many humans right now. I do not want to drive up the numbers. If you had 15 minutes of prime time TV, how would you use it, and what message would you share? It would be very political, and it would be, I would not be the person delivering it. I'm not that good. I would get someone much better than me to do the delivery, and it would be a very progressive message in an attempt to wake up the American people who are so goddamn asleep. It's horrible. There's a reason they call it the American dream, folks. You got to be asleep to believe it. And the last question for this video, who is solving the big problems in the world? Almost no one. Because the people who have inklings and answers are being drowned out by those whose best interests are in drowning out those answers. There are a lot of people that make a lot of money and maintain a lot of power by making sure the status quo is maintained. And so those that speak up are either drowned out, underfunded, or eliminated. So the people who are trying to solve the problems are in contention with an established power system that is very much opposed to their success. So yeah, that was a wonderfully depressing end to this particular video. But thank you for being here for episode 284. I hope that you will be here for episode 285.